Right guys, Mark Crossfield here. More swings coming at you from my golf app. People sending swings through the app. If you want to get on one of these shows, you need to buy the app. It's Android and iPhone. Send it through there. I try and do as many as I can. We're going to talk pressure in the ground, how you react with the ground and how that might affect your striking. Let's see if we can give this guy some help with those ideas. Let's get stuck in. Okay, swing sent through the app, looks like an athletic guy. There are some not too bad movements in here. He definitely looks like he appears on the 2D image as much as I can see. Strike the ball out of the toe of the club, so this end, so furthest away from the neck. You can see the club face as it comes through pointing much further right than where he's really delivered it, so it's twisted as it's come through from the strike. And the ball also starts off to the right through strike as well. We also see quite a big movement on the downswing and through going this way as he hits the ball. So he wants to push backside very much forwards and out. He looks very much like he's pushing down in the ground harder with his toes than his heels as he comes into impact. So his pressure in the ground is much more up towards his toes. I use a thing called body track, which is a mat you stand on, which shows me where his pressure would be. We haven't got any of that info for this lesson. We're talking more if these are things that he finds when he goes and gets a lesson, which he should do, would help him, then certainly give him a try. Because we've got limited data through a camera, which is something people do struggle to understand, even the people on the telly. So from what I see, and I see this quite often with these kind of players, it's not always the case. I see people who get up on their toes, who hit the ball really well as well, but I see amateur golfers definitely really struggle with this. So he goes into his downswing, wants to push forward. He wants to push down on his toes hard to try and hit the ball. So he's now moving his center of pressure, it would be called. So it's like an imaginary little dot, which we'd see in the ground on a mat, out towards his base of stability. So it's out towards his toes. It's right out towards the outside of his stability. Now, for people who move their traces this way, what I often see is an inability to strike the ball that well. I do get a lot of players, really good players. I've worked with LET players who move their center of pressure similar ways, but they have different levels of coordination or balance or whatever you want to call it, where they can line up the center of gravity of the club with the center of gravity of the ball, even when they're moving to their limits of their base of their stability. So for all intents and purposes, they're almost like better athletes. Now for this guy, what I'd like to see you try and do, you can get a club, and I've done this before. I've just got a wedge here, and I want you to make a few practice swings where you stand on it. So get the middle of your feet onto the club, feel yourself pushing that club down, and we need to get rid of this feeling where you would roll over the club and start pushing the grass down with your toes. You want to start making a few swings where you feel like you're pushing the club down quite evenly through the middle of your feet as you turn backwards and as you turn through. Now, most commonly for people as they do this is they feel like they're really turning back this way a bit more. This really helps people control what you would call early extension. Now for me, I don't care if you early extend. What I would care about if we measured you is if your center of pressure is moving to that outside of your base of stability and then you can't strike it. So like I said earlier, if you strike the ball really well and you moved your pressures up onto your toes, I wouldn't make that connection. But the connection is made for me because the amount of people I see coming through for lessons who are throwing their pressures, so they're thrusting in ways that throws their pressures, so the way they push on the ground, right to their limits of their stability base, and then they can't strike the ball. And whenever you get people to control that stability, so feeling how they're pushing through the ground, their strikes just really, really improve. So if I was to hit a shot here where I feel like I am controlling my pressure in the ground, it's not particularly getting to the outsides of my feet, I feel lining up the CG of the club with the ball is not that hard a thing to do. Imagine hitting shots where I'm moving that pressure. So this is an extreme example, but I'm making a swing where I feel like I'm throwing that pressure around. I have to sacrifice speed dramatically to line up center of that club with the center of that ball. And if I don't, if I try and do those kind of movements, and I know this is exaggeration, just it's a visual exaggeration. I've seen players move their, you think of it as balance, their center of pressure massively when they don't even look like they're moving that much, say on a 2D camera. So if I was to do these kind of movements at speed, I mean, I've got no chance of lining up this with that. So your CG of the club, it's a very small imaginary place in the middle of this club, trying to line it up with the CG of that ball at speed when you're pushing yourself to the outsides of your balance, your base of stability, will make striking really, really tough. Hope that helps. You could call this an early extension lesson, which lots of people would understand those terminologies. For me, it's not the thrusting forward, it's what that does to the way you react with the ground, and then in turn the way you deliver that impact number, the way you deliver that face, that centre of gravity, and line it up with the ball or not. Controlling how you push on the ground has a massive effect. That drill, you do it at home, stepping on the shaft, making a few backswings and follow throughs, where you feel where your pressure is pushing down on the ground. Try and keep it on that cane or on that club. I think you'll find your striking will improve. If your striking improves, you'll find your direction, distance control will seriously improve. Thanks for sending the swing. Post comments down below. Love to hear if this makes sense or not. A slightly different way of looking at a very old idea of, we could call it, balance. There's a million lessons out there like this. This is just maybe based on some invisible forces, more factual ideas of how it might affect you. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my YouTube channel for loads more videos. Find me on Instagram at Crossfield Mark. Also on Twitter at 4golfonline. Find me on Facebook, Mark Crossfield. Thanks for watching. Post comments as always, and see you soon.